name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're going to be taking a look at XG Moves number 2. This is Hinata. So far, I have seen 3 other members prior to this video, and all of them brought something very different to the table. And that makes me very excited to see what Hinata brings. If I look super quick while I have you here, Spella is the one who choreographed this, so I highly anticipate a ton of tutting and whacking variants in this, and it makes me so freaking pumped. I did not know that until just a second as I'm talking, so we're gonna go ahead, let's get into it. I can't wait. She's in heels. Love Spella's choreography, and I think she did a great job doing it. She honestly executed it about as good as how Irene and Solgi did Naughty, honestly, which is great. You can tell that she's intentional about her training. I do see some pretty obvious discrepancies on how she could be more efficient in her tuts, but we will approach those as we get through them. From the top here, I really love the energy. Love the fact she's in heels. Very different vibe and aesthetic in comparison to the other 3 that we watched. And I just love the range of dance representation we're seeing. I love this energy, how she builds it up as she comes up, draws up the trace, which was really nice, comes up through the hips, walks forward, great presence, and through. It does look like her hair got caught just a smidge on her hand, but nothing crazy. Now notice here, boom, so notice that she took that little extra pull and then established on that snap. Really great choreographic choice. Also, this is something that Spella likes to do. She has these stylistic hands that she does. A lot of times these really help when you want to have a straight angle. These help you get away with the give of the angle quite just a little bit. And I saw this a ton in Naughty. And that just creates more of a very different, broad, flower-esque aesthetic to the type of tut. And it's just a stylistic choice, and I really like it. I will say, though, you have to be competent in your basic tuts in order for us to appreciate this type of variation. Because I will say this, I said this about the Naughty choreography. I had not done an analysis, but whenever I reacted or I watched it just on my own time way back when it came out, my overall note was it really feels like we were using the stylistic hand to kind of adjust it or hide the fact that their angles weren't as clean. And that was my big note about that choreography. But here we see that she does have really nice angles. And I love this here, boom, great fingers. I have these chunky baby sausage fingers, and so mine look pretty ugly, like just being real, unless I have longer nails. Having nails really works well for these types of styles. Like, look, it's just so pretty. That right there, where she looks is so important, because she's looking right here. It helps us really focus on what's about to happen. And I think she bleeds through it. So it's here, and then she has to bleed it up. So it's technically a fixed point of these 2 hands. As she comes up, you have to be very wary of this one not dropping, because if people have really good flexibility, most people are going to have good flexibility here. It is way harder to earn this flexibility here. It takes a lot of practice. So in order to see that take place, it's a really big pull right here on this part of the wrist. If you notice, she does experience some level of hyperextension that can help in certain angles, but it does affect the overall line, because there's a regular tut and there's a hyperextended tut. Notice that there's a curvature that takes place that can affect the overall line depending on what you are doing. So that is my note that I noticed. She did that a couple of times. That is my overall note. Folding it down. I love that. Day, night, right here. This should be, she has it about right here. It needs to be a 90. It's chilling at an obtuse angle, and it needs to be a 90. That is freaking hard to do, though, because I'm able to sit here and hold it and talk to you about it, but being able to go from here to here in about 1 second, it's still tricky stuff. And you notice that she has a pretty clean line here, but I also call this the duckbill. You want to think about flattening it out so you have a true line. But what ends up happening is here with Hinata, my big note for her is, so we don't see a truly clean line. We either see a hyperextended line or we see a duckbill. So we need her right in the middle, is my big note for her, her tuts. But I love the fact that we're seeing a spell of choreography represented here. Love that. Doon, doon. This is really tricky stuff on the fold outs. I have taken a spell of choreography before. It was Bury a Friend. I almost buried myself. My arms, very rarely does my body start to give out when I run choreography. That was one of the routines that I had a time limit on how many times I could do full out until my arms gave out. Because of how physically rigorous it is to do tuts in that speed, in that progression, and using the back. Because you got to use the back. But even then, it's so freaking fatiguing to get the angles in check. I actually have the video. It is on YouTube. I mean, I can tag it in this description, if anything, or on my Patreon. I'll just post it if you're curious. But I really like her choice, like right here, going from here. Like, you have to be very mindful of this fold down, because a lot of times a lot of people can train here, but a lot of people don't train here, and it's way different in your muscle memory to have to switch it that quickly. Doon doon. That right there. Very impressed with her of the fact that it was so clear to see. She bleeds it up and down. The energy right here. So honestly, these tuts are a bit simplistic in comparison to what Spella could normally do on a polyrhythmic scale. So it really feels like this choreo has been tailored to her for possibly. Or it could also be, this is one of the easier, more intermediate. This is an intermediate kind of tutting choreo in comparison to some of the advanced stuff I have seen from Spella on Spella's scale. This could still be deemed very advanced for people if you've never tutted a day in your life. Having this here though, I love that boom, 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 and then she flips it over. This is definitely a fingerprint of Spella, that fold over. Where she's looking is really, really smart. I also love the wrist, the twirl over to create this line. My same note exists. She has to be mindful also because she's actually twisting a little bit. So that would want her to refine her angle, because if you notice right there, she has it twisted up. So you see a little bit of the back of the hand. You want to try to avoid that, especially if you're coming from a side profile. So you want to have that folded down a little bit more. Yeah, and right there, that wasn't quite as clean of an angle as it could be. I really appreciate it though. Some nice whacking overheads down into one of those basic. That was a straight up polyrhythm. She was doing an overhead, and then she was having to hit on, oh my gosh, doon, 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 right? So look, it's taking me time to think about it. This was hitting on the bomb, da 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 da. I'm not able, I had to actually think about that. What shows you? The fact that it looked completely seamless to her, for me, it requires me time to think through it. And I'm an elite level dancer. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to choreography retention or tackling elite level advanced routines, I can handle advanced level routines because of my training. But also, I'm not an idol. This is what I do, you know? And so that's the difference, that she has to sing and she's with a group and she has so many other facets. She's a representative of a brand. She is not just a dancer. So the fact that we're able to see her really replicate great seamless polyrhythms like what we just saw, and this not be her main job, like being a dancer is only one component, it's so impressive. It really is. Let's just take time to go back and watch it. Look, it was even most replayed. Yeah, that bum, bum, bum. So she goes, da, 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 right here. She probably had to drill this, da, 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 da. Normally I can get these pretty easily. I can do strikes this part is pretty easy. Boom, boom, boom. It just takes time whenever you have to double it up, but it also takes me a little bit of an energy. Look, now it's going to bother me, the fact that I can't get that. I'll get it eventually, but it's still really nice. It takes time to get used to these angles and sequences. I can tell she put a lot of craft into this, going from there, boom, oh yeah, right here into that box. It was so fun. That right there too, boom, boom. I would say my note is she didn't quite 100% rotate that hand as much as I think she could have to get into this position. Right there into this. Yes, ma'am. Melting it down to finish it. Look at that, so stylistic. Honestly, this was fun. This was great. Very great, and it shows her competency of what she learns. it really shows their training. The fact that we have so many different members, they're all being trained under the same group, right? The same kind of brand or organization. So that means that how they're going about training is very efficient because we're able to see so many different styles represented already, and I'm not through all the members yet. And I know I'm going to continue to see more and more styles. And knowing that Sienna was one of the ones who was kind of undertaking them in their pre-debut into their debut with a lot of their work, Sienna goes hard. She does. She does emulate a lot of qualities that Paris exuded in her era of like 2010 to 2015, like that era of the K-pop realm. Shout out Ringalinga, right? But also, though, just note though, with the whole aesthetic of how Sienna choreographs, like with BTS and with a lot of other groups, and then with XG as well, you could see that her range has really expanded over the years, and it's really nice to see her get to use her toolkit on a group like this that is so exposed to so many different styles, because it really makes me want to appreciate or be captivated by what they're doing. Because if you see a group take time to understand fundamentals of a style, it helps me appreciate their choreography, because choreography is supposed to be an application of techniques and foundations that you learn in the forefront. It's not flip-flop. You shouldn't be just learning choreography just for the sake of it looking a certain way without knowing why the choreography is the way that it is. It helps train your musicality, helps train your overall textures and execution as an artist. It helps you understand who you are as an artist. It helps you know your range better and being able to collaborate or make changes in the field as time happens, you know? So I would say overall, that's my biggest note that I'm giving to all of them. It's not even note, it's a compliment of I'm very appreciative that I'm watching these now, because it's going to help me appreciate what they bring to the table choreographically in the future. And I'm going to have more healthier context looking at it, because like I've already said, I can see that they are training in fundamentals outside of just choreography, because this kind of stuff, you don't just learn how to do a tut correctly. It's not a natural thing. There's nothing about that choreography that was natural. I saw the discipline in place there. I saw that she had to most likely train her flexibility in her wrist to get there. And 9 times out of 10 in my head, I'm going to assume that she wasn't the only one that had to do that. You know, that's just the feature that she chose to do. So my overall note, this is great, and I love the fact that I'm doing this, because it's going to help me really, really get on the same page as a lot of people of why they appreciate this group, because I'm starting to appreciate it too. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more XG, K-pop in general, you can head over to Patreon and you get all access to everything that I've ever reacted to ever is there. Regardless if it's blocked, copyright, if it's not released yet because of how comebacks work, things of the like, everything is over there, completely bingeable to your heart's content, because we all know my videos are pretty long. This one's more on the shorter side, but if you are totally okay with just waiting it out on YouTube and waiting for videos like this to pop up as comebacks take place, please get yourself comfortable and enjoy. I always enjoy the support on both sides and the discussions on both sides. I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.